very warm welcome to Richie Fagan. Richie and I have known each other from the early days, well, not the early days of the public-facing world of the Union Cup back in 2019. I think he'd done a little bit more work in that before I came across it. It was a wonderful success at the time, and it has certainly created a lasting impression in my mind. It has brought a greater awareness of the Emerald Warriors, which Richie founded as well, as an LGBT rugby club based in Dublin. You're very welcome to Sport for Business, Richie.
Thanks so much, Rob. I need to mention, I can't take the credit for finding the club. Richie White was, I remember, who kind of found the club with 5 other guys back in 2003. I joined the club in 2011, and it came up through player pathway program, then on to chairing the Union Cup back in 2018 when we were planning it quite heavily. And I'm very grateful for the invite here today. It's an honour to be coming in on the back of Aidan Walsh, who's done an incredible job, and Helen in Sport Ireland, and we're loving their work. And so thank you for the invite, Rob.
No, it's a pleasure. Let me take you back those 2 years, and you're absolutely right. President and driver of the Emerald Warriors, let's call, but fair play to Chris for being the man behind it in the first place. Let me take you back to the Union Cup first, and then we'll come back to the Warriors. When that came about, it was an explosion of positivity. Guinness painted the gates of St. James's Gate in the rainbow colours for the first time in 200 and odd years. We saw Vodafone getting involved. We saw the government of Ireland getting involved. We saw Bank of Ireland getting involved. Big brands coming together to support a tournament that they had probably never heard of 2 years previously. What was the impact that had within the LGBTQ community at the time?
Yeah, it was for sure a pretty big impact. And I think we, back in 2018, when we did a very small bit of research ourselves to ask, our own community, the rugby community, did they know what Union Cup was? Did they know what LGBT in sport was? And, what came back was quite grim, in that we knew that there was a big job in hand to be done here. And we had to really think about this, about who we needed to be aligned with. And we needed to align with the right people to drive the right messaging. We wanted to change perception around LGBT in sport, in particular rugby. And so, we were very lucky to get, involved with, onside at the very early stages. They were John Trainer and the team, Michael and Paige there, and we did some phenomenal work with those guys just to understand the kind of landscape at that time of where rugby was at, where diversity inclusion was at. Look at brands that had proper diversity inclusion programs that weren't just brands that did badging exercises, that had proper programs within their organizations. And when we did that exercise, it became really authentic. It became very easy to kind of get the messaging out there. Not easy, but it became easier, So I think that journey that we went on, and I think, Helen, mentioned there the journey, it just reminded me, so much at the time we have to go on a journey to get, sometimes we go in and we can put up exactly where we want to be, but we have to kind of take a step back, do a bit more research, understand again where we're at, understand the people that the members in the club, understand getting the right people lined up. And so we had a lot of that work to do. But by doing that, and I know Sporting Pride Ireland was set up in 2018, and it was kind of an interesting time. They were newly set up. Like, they've been extremely supportive to us and what we're doing, and like, we love the work that they're doing. But it was, I suppose, at that time, it was, we were kind of maybe the first ones to be driving that kind of LGBT in sport and the topic and the agenda. And we have brilliant relationships within our LGBT community in the sporting world. We talk a lot with even the Dublin Devils. In the pandemic, we've connected actually, if not more, with these clubs, like with the Pink Ladies, the Tigers, many of the other LGBT sporting clubs, and we've been having kind of many panel discussions like this. We've been understanding their setup, their type of membership, and just seeing if there's anything that we could learn from and sharing our experiences with them. So if anything, in the pandemic, we've had a great opportunity to kind of reconnect and collaborate and understand where we're at the moment with LGBT in sport.
Yeah, that sense of the importance of sport as in a social way. We're social animals, so it's great that you can reach out to your fellow your fellow travelers, so to speak, in terms of those other clubs founded specifically so that you can enjoy the benefits of sport in the company of people who share your views, beliefs, and life. There's a question here in terms of whether where the balance is between promoting clubs like yourself that are specifically geared towards, but not exclusively for gay players, and encouraging other clubs in the more, shall we say, mainstream to be more welcoming. Where does that balance lie? Where should we be putting our efforts? Should we support you in terms of forming exclusive clubs, not exclusive, but specific clubs, or should we be putting our effort into making sure that that 1.5 or 2 players out of every GAA team that might, by dint of statistics, actually be LGBTQ, that they can actually come out safely within their own club?
I think there's 2 areas there that are really important. Like, we do see the importance of what we do in the club, in particular around the case studies that we see coming through the club, the members that we bring through that have never played rugby before, that end up, on our first team or playing in our final of a league match. But we, and just to talk about, and we've talked about this on many occasions, Rob, and we have, done our own, again, bit of research on the back of Union Cup, which actually, the results line up quite remarkably with the UK research, with that 17% figure of why 17% of our LGBT community are only involved in the competitive sport. And then when you delve a bit deeper in those stats, it's quite shocking, what comes out of those stats. But we're very passionate about changing that stat, bringing more of our community to rugby. We've even, put a huge amount of investment and time into bringing in our non-contact side of the club. We will always have our full contact. We're expanding on that. We're expanding on our coaching team in that area. We're beefing that up. But on the non-contact side, which we've just kicked off with, we thought we might have 30, 40 members coming down. We've 95 to 120 signing up on a Friday night for the non-contact, which is running every Friday night. And so we're very passionate about bringing our community, but we're also very passionate understanding, for us to be flying the flag of diversity and inclusion, and for us to be truly, diverse and inclusive, we need to bring in, more women to the club. We need to, our allies are so important to us, and we have so many incredible allies as members of our clubs. And so, we're not exclusively the gay rugby team. We're very passionate about being the most inclusive club. But then on the other side of that is the job in hand with making sure every other rugby club in the country is inclusive. And we're very, we're very excited about the work we've been doing with the Inclusivity Committee in Leinster Rugby. Maura Flahav has been doing incredible work to drive and change up what needs to be done for women in sport. And now we're very quickly moving along to LGBT in rugby, and we've got an announcement coming out on Monday. We're looking at a 2 to 3 year collaboration with Leinster Rugby and the Inclusivity Committee. And for us, that's a really, really a special piece of work that's going to hopefully change up the dial for inclusivity in all clubs. An educational piece that needs to be driven through all local clubs in our area. And Rob, we've talked about this before, like some of the most memorable experiences on the journey that we've been on with, promoting the Union Cup. It was at grassroots level. Like when we went into those clubs at their committee meetings to Rob the first 10, 15 minutes to present to them what we're about, our key messaging, like the reaction we got from that, like a day or two later, your phone would be hopping, like there'd be clubs looking to get involved, looking to kind of engage with you even further. So like we're really excited about this piece of work that we're going to be rolling out hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years. And Bank of Ireland have been incredible in the background, really driving us on this one as well. So, to come back to your question, I think when we, get that educational piece rolled out and get clubs understanding, language, LGBT community overall, to make their clubs more inclusive. But we do see our club having a hugely important role in changing those stats, and getting more of the LGBT community to sport.
I think you're doing a great job on it, and you're absolutely right. Like Bank of Ireland, we do a lot of stuff with Bank of Ireland, and they really do. Their heart is very much in this. I know Sam is on the call with us this morning, but I'm looking forward to that. See, you always get the news hot off the press with Sport for Business, so I'm looking forward to that now on Monday. The announcement with Leinster Rugby. Just before I let you go, Richie, I think it will be interesting if you don't mind asking about your personal journey. As you say, you joined the Warriors in 2011. What was your personal history in sport prior to that?
Yeah, I absolutely love sport, but I kind of fell out of it in my early teens, and on a bit of a journey myself, coming out, and kind of fell back into sport much later. And I can't knock sports clubs I would have played with growing up. They were fantastic. Like, I have some great friends from that. But as Aidan mentioned there was nothing like kind of engaging with like-minded people. And that's what happened to me when I, joined the Emerald Warriors. It was a game changer in terms of me getting back to playing sport, but also in the friendships that I made. It wasn't just a physical change. It was a huge mental change, for me. So, I got back into playing sport quite late in a way, but the Emerald Warriors were what drove me to get back into playing and get me back on the pitch, etc. So, yeah, there's loads of case studies in the club like myself, and it's interesting. We all kind of nearly fell out of sport around the same age, at our early teens, and that just goes to show that again that piece of work that we're going to be working on now, hopefully that will change, that stat as well. If you look at, and we've spoken about this before, Rob, like it is actually funny that LGBT, the age at which they fall out of sport is quite in line with sometimes how girls fall out of sport, the age that they fall out. So yeah, that's just a bit of an insight into my journey with the club.
The girls in sport, it's still not far moved the dial from 50% of girls who play school at the end of national school or primary school that have dropped out by the time they get to the age of 14. Like that's within 2 years of going into secondary school, and there are many reasons. But obviously, if that's being mirrored in your own story and in those case studies that are coming through, that is such an important key time. To be making sure that we do make sport as welcoming as possible. It is always a pleasure, Richie Fagan, to talk to you, either in person or on this slightly more modern version of having a conversation. But the very best of luck to you with the rest of this year, specifically with that partnership now with Leinster Rugby, and I know Bank of Ireland have got a great relationship in there. So really look forward to seeing how that develops and to writing about it at the time. But for the time being, anyway, thanks a million for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much, Rob.